Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Ain't nobody in here. It's just me right now. So I was actually just finishing up. Hold on one second. Let me close this. Well, actually, that's cool. I was just finishing my Daredevil season 2 episode run review. So check that out when I post it. But I seen movie Hubbub did a video. Just came across my line here, and I'm really interested to see what he's talking about. From the thumbnail, uh, it looks to be hopefully interesting. It's kind of in the realm of what I've been talking about, the whole, Snyderverse, DCU's Snyder Bros. He has harsh critics on the thing and whatnot. So I figured I'll just come on here and watch it live since I've been doing some live stuff in general. So we'll check this. I'm gonna pull it up, and we gonna see what he got going. You know what I'm saying? Shout outs to Movie Hubbub. You know what I mean? I respect, just in general, I respect his content. I feel like he's pretty balanced on it. He's not too far. He just is, you know, he doesn't spew venom. He's just very honest about how he feels about things. I kind of feel like I'm in that same realm. You know what I mean? So let's get off that. Let's see what Mr. Movie Hubbub's talking about. All right, let's check it out real quick. I'm gonna mute up here. Let's go.
What's the hubbub? Yes, this is a civil takedown of Mr. Phenom's Restore the Snyderverse channel. He said I thought I was cooking, but wasn't on my Supergirl rebuttal. I'll make sure to cook in this video like a Michelin star restaurant chef. I'll say that he is a decent presenter, and at times funny. But on the subject matter, it gets unintentionally humorous. When he copes a bit too hard for the Snyder Bro fandom, always looking for excuses to defend where the DCEU Zack Snyder established flop verse rec fell apart. Here's the thing about Mr. Phenom's points. This isn't about clout. It works both ways, as some of my viewers check out his videos for the first time too. Just as some of his may have on mine.
They're not good at debating. They bring points up that are so easily defused. You want to debate me, but you come up with the most stupidest things to debate about. See, and when you use the terminology of Snyder Bros, that tells me all I need to know. That tells me all I need to know about your thinking, how you think as a person. That tells me all I need to know. There's a reason why all the gun cultists come over to the Snyder channels who support Zack and like Zack Snyder, and they just get carried away with typing. They just get carried away with typing because they're that bothered that people like Zack Snyder.
It's cross-fandom interest on opposite sides. Which is good for dialogue if we debate with a decent amount of respect. We can have humor along the way, but it doesn't have to fall into attacks. I may repeat this, but let's keep it light humor and mostly on the subject matter. I'm not out to maliciously attack him. Some of the general commentary isn't even directed at him, but rather the perceived Snyder Bros mentality. To start with him directly though, if you're not on board with the Restore the Snyderverse agenda, you somehow become an immediate villain to whatever story he's telling or creating on James Gunn's DCU, all because you aren't trying to destroy and replace the only current active verse. Really, I don't have a problem with Snyder fans in general. For example, on Tyrone Magnus, who isn't a DCU fan, at least he isn't advocating to destroy and end the Gunverse.
If you liked Superman, I'm fine with it. If you didn't like Superman, I'm fine with it. If you attack people for not agreeing with your opinions, I'm not fine with it. That makes you a very sorry person.
Obviously, he is definitively pro-Snyderverse, but he has also denounced the coup attempt, while it's closed an attempted movement, which flopped as an American movement, by the way. As Superman
So as far as what you just said about Tyrone, that was kind of the issue. If you've noticed, I've referenced that in the past interaction I kind of had with him, and I will say his thing isn't. I know he's a Snyder guy. Like I've always said, he actually interviewed Zack Snyder, so he has a vested interest in it. It could be biased, it could be not. He strikes me as somebody that genuinely is just There's a couple things, but he's generally just into it. His things with me is more of the woke stuff, which can be problematic also. Like that's my thing with him, and his perception. But movie Hubbub is right about that aspect for sure about Tyrone.
And did huge domestic numbers, but I'll dive into the domestic man insult later. If you're interested in civil debates and DCU news, the Hubbub is for you, so please subscribe and tap the notification bell. Anyways, Tyrone would like to see the DCEU Snyderverse restored as a parallel universe, so both Gunn and Snyder can do their thing and even crossover. Maybe for an Infinite Crisis event movie between verses. Also, Snyderverse and Gunn topics are just a small part of his channel. He isn't a very niche YouTuber like us. As for me,
now I just want to address that real quick. The whole, like a parallel universe thing. I don't see that necessarily working, and I've said that because it becomes confusing to a younger demographic or just the general demographic who is not as entrenched into it as we are. There'll be 3 Batmans, 2 Superman. It just becomes too much. So I don't necessarily think that would be a great idea. That's why I could say maybe a spinoff of Batman, or hell, as Zach said, instead of Batman, I wanted to do a Flash possibly, but you have to get a new Flash because they're not going to bring Ezra Miller back. So, yeah.
On my civil debate small channel community of the Hubbub, I try to keep the sarcasm and jokes on the subject matter and admit what we are. Yes, I said we, as you are a part of it, Mr. Phenom. Your majority content is Gunn versus Snyder, period. People watch it as a niche channel. And if you post on other topics, whether fair or not for your effort to branch out on more topics, you maybe get like 20% of the views. Likely the same for me. Our audience interest level is on our niche. Embrace the truth, mate. How is that for honesty? Can you just admit you're a Restore the Snyderverse channel? Free yourself from pretending otherwise. Some of my remarks are general to the fandom of the Snyder Bros. Rather than an individual attack on Mr. Phenom or any reaction video to anyone else, I wish him well, not harm. I know you want to grow your YouTube channel into a career. I don't make fun of you for seeking that fame. Look at Mr. Phenom here, glossing over Superman's second week drop though.
It said the second weekend drop was 53.2%, 58 million plus, noted as a stronghold compared to some concurrent releases. All right, now we're going to go to the next one that I want you to go to Google. We're still on the same slide, by the way. We're on the Zack Snyder versus James Gunn DC numbers. So, Zack Snyder's numbers. Man of Steel 2013, 670 million, 225 million budget. Batman v Superman, 874 and 250 million budget. Justice League, by the way, which James Gunn Superman couldn't even outperform the horrible version of Justice League, had 657 million. And then it had Zack Snyder.
Full pause. So you notice something right there? Now, again, he is going against, he's saying this in regards to Superman 2025. Batman versus Superman had an established Superman and Batman played by Ben Affleck and Wonder Woman and Doomsday. You know what I'm saying? Like, it had a lot in it. And it had the revelation of Flash and Aquaman. 4 superheroes or whatnot, right? And yeah, and they didn't even do $1 billion. That should have been a given. But also, check this out. When he got to Justice League, he said what it grossed, what it made, right? Never said what it cost to make. Didn't say anything about a profit margin. Didn't say anything about the how much that movie should have made. Truth be told, Snyder had a opportunity to do a Infinity War Endgame type situation, and he fumbled the ball. But Mr. Phenom leaves that out. He completely omitted that, just jumped right over that. I'm guessing while he's reading right here, he's like, oh, that number's too big. That means, oh, yeah, playing to the narrative.
Justice League the fourth most streamed film on HBO Max that year, which, by the way, we still don't know the official numbers of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and there's a reason for that.
As if it's proof of bad. While glazing Batman v Superman and not even mentioning its drop. Hey buddy, how about you Google this yourself? Back in 2016, Zack Snyder rolled out Batman v Superman. Dawn of Justice, like it was the second coming of superhero cinema. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Trinity. This wasn't just a movie, it was supposed to be a cultural detonation, the logical next step after the Avengers set the superhero market. The Avengers proved audiences would show up in droves for crossover events. And show up they did. Once. Because after that massive opening, well folks, it dropped nearly 70% in its second weekend. That's not a dip, that's gravity kicking in. That's audiences collectively saying, well, we've seen it. And we're good, thanks. Martha, take me home. Home. It's the box office equivalent of a restaurant opening night packed to the brim, followed by a second night where even the chef doesn't show up. I've probably seen that happen on a Chef Ramsay. Kitchen Nightmares episode of a nasty-looking, infested hole-in-the-wall pub.
Darling, you've got to turn away now. I don't want to see you facing that shit any longer. Absolutely appalling.
Now contrast that with James Gunn and Superman 2025. Face it, this film didn't walk into a golden age of peak box office dominance. It crawled out of the smoking crater the DCEU left behind. Maybe that's why it opens with him in a Dragon Ball Z Yamcha. The genre just isn't booming anymore. It's wheezing. Audiences are pickier, competition is fiercer, and the novelty is long gone. So when Superman drops around 54% in its second weekend, that's not a failure in this modern era. That's stability. That's a film that people didn't immediately reject after the trailers wore off. It's the difference between a that was decent and never again. That's a film that beat all three Marvel movies and remained the #1 superhero movie of the year in all of 2025. Do you see Mr. Phenom or the hardcore Snyder Bros talk about that? Not likely. If they do, it's always dismissive of the accomplishment. Just as
Hey, listen, right now, Movie Hubbub is cooking. He is pointing it out in a very civil way, all these points. This is a really good video so far. And he's being very even with it. He's not bashing or anything. He's doing a really good job at this video and articulating these thoughts in a very poignant way. This is a really good video.
trying to paint Superman as domestic, man implying a failure that is being roasted. It's kind of like delivering cringe jokes on a Comedy Central. Celebrity roast that falls flat to an awkward silence.
Pete's not biracial.
Good one.
I'll admit that the international box office was weak for Superman. So overseas had less interest in an American superhero.
Right there, that's the thing that I have an issue with Snyder Bros. We can admit the shortcomings. Do they have reasons? In the Snyder Bros, hey, Snyder's had a tragedy that we know happened in his family. But that was later, but we understand it. So those are things when his movie gets kind of Frankenstein, we can get that because of what happened. But they just wipe all that away and just look, they're very surface. And that is the problem. And he's breaking that down and articulating it just a great way.
Most iconic one, too. Why? Sure. I mean, it's not like President Trump and tariffs with China was ever an issue, right?
Tariffs. My favorite word, tariff, which of course is short for terrific idea.
But while I admit that point to a degree, let's also realize exceeding domestic expectations is better for revenue. If it's doing better domestically, the revenue return is a good 20 to 25% higher. Domestically than internationally, if the domestic split on revenue averages up to 60%, compared to China, for example, which falls to 25% or lower. Tell me if a choice, which region do you want to see overperformance in? Hey, Google that yourself again, Mr. Phenom. And here's where the billion-dollar argument really falls apart for the Snyder crowd. Yes, this is a general comment, not a direct hit on you. Mr. Phenom, just calm down. Set the energy workout supplements down a moment. We know you exercise, but now exercise some restraint and do some listening. not hitting 1 billion in 2025? When did any of you DCU haters that come to my channel ever see a video by me suggest Superman could do that much? Never. The fact is, I referenced John Campea, who mostly said in rehabilitating the DC movie brand, Superman needs to do 500 to 600 millions range. I said this consistently recognizing the challenges of the superhero genre down, and only tentpoles like Deadpool, Spider-Man, and Avengers being purely bankable. The landscape has changed. The genre isn't printing money anymore. Not hitting the billion in 2016 was a failure, really, a catastrophic level even failure. Batman and Superman sharing the screen for the first time in live action? That's not only just missing the mark, that's tripping over it.
He's really kind of getting surgical with this, to be honest, because that was my biggest point when it came to Batman v Superman. Man of Steel was good. Batman v Superman, that easily should have been a $1 billion movie. But you got to think, people did not like, and I think we've grown to like it. Because we didn't have anything to really judge it against besides the bad Superman Returns. He changed the tone. He was not comic accurate in certain things with that iteration of Superman. It turned certain people off. Then they got Batman in it to drive the excitement more. And it just didn't work because the writing was not good. The story was not good. The only thing good about those movies is the action and the cinematography or the effects. That's it. That is it. That is it. That's what I'm gonna say, but continue, Movie Hubbub.
Falling down the stairs. And taking the entire cinematic universe with you? Because let's be honest, Batman v Superman didn't just underperform financially, it poisoned the well. That catastrophic drop wasn't just about one weekend. It signaled a complete lack of staying power. The film had hype, brand power, and perfect timing, and still couldn't convert that into long-term success. That's not bad luck, that's rejection. Meanwhile, Gunn isn't trying to win a race. He's trying to prove the car still works. So yeah, the reason it looks worse for Snyder isn't bias, it's math, timing, and expectations. One film had every advantage imaginable and still stumbled. The other is rebuilding from rubble and just needs to keep the lights on. One fell off a cliff. The other is just trying to climb back up the mountain. And honestly, that's a much harder job. Go look at what Marvel did when Man of Steel made into 600 millions. They had a 1.2 billion. Iron Man sequel boom in theaters. Google it, buddy. Superman out of the superhero. Boom. Heir of box office. Also did in the 600 millions as well. The difference? Compare it to the contemporaries of the time it released with. Thunderbolts, which I thought was a good movie. At least far better than Batman v Superman. Failed to even cross 400 million in 2025. Captain America sequel. Barely crossed 400 million. Fantastic Four, no clobbering time. Didn't hit the 600 millions. In fact, it was 100 million short of what Superman did, which was the only...
And you see, that's what I like that he's doing in this. He's taking it outside the realm of DC and Superman and Snyder, the overall spectrum of comic book movies. And this has been a thing, so like right now, Fantastic Four. I thought Fantastic Four was a good movie. But then there's other elements people play but look at that. This is the first time a quote unquote comic accurate Fantastic Four has been on screen. We've had them before, but you know what I mean? The first time in the MCU. It didn't even break that. He's really breaking down it's more than just this, but realize and don't, depreciate what Superman 2025 did. The hurdles that it had to jump in this day and age and what it actually achieved versus Snyder Bros. We just want Zack. He's putting in work right now.
Only superhero. Movie 2 crossed the 600 million. Box office range for 2025. We have talked about this on the Hubbub before, that when comparing eras post-COVID, the Snyder Bros hate that. We have a movie theater general audience going, drop of 40 to 50%. If you have half the movie-going audience in a downward trend of the superhero genre, plus a streaming world where the movies go VOD.
That is a sad sight. Growing up, I worked at 2 different theaters for a fair amount of time. And yeah, this is COVID, post-COVID, whatever, but this is what that industry is trying to recover from. So when you see movies do certain things, and you have to understand this, when it comes to the movie-going experience, it's a family experience. So that's why you see a lot of the billion-dollar movies being, you know, kid-friendly movies, bright movies, movies that a mother, a father, or whatever the family dynamic is, and children to the movie and being able to enjoy that experience, especially in this day and age with what we're going through economically, worldwide, and whatnot. That visual is that's a bad visual, but it's the world.
While still playing in theaters, how incredibly intellectually dishonest to pretend there isn't. A much larger and harder hill to climb. You guys will attack me over making opinions and backing them up. While your leading source is who? Cosmic Crook News, who is notorious for saying insiders told me so.
I've been told, especially...
I mean, are the insiders in the room with us?
Do you think anybody is telling this man anything especially? I'm sorry, I just had, do you really? At least say I heard, or that he's been told especially. Oh boy.
I'll defend the ridiculous misinformation thrown towards this channel. My thoughts about the Snyder Bros Entertainment commentary channels versus Hubbub dynamic. I think cross-channel reactions are fun, with respect, and it's interesting for viewers who want to see both sides. I do, however, think the channel attacks are lame. I'm not attacking Mr. Phenom, and don't ask my subscribers to do that either. I do think it's a gross misrepresentation to call me an AI channel, which is half the attacks in your comment sections. Since your guys can't debate subject matter, they deflect there. I don't use AI to write my content. I haven't monetized yet, though qualified some time back. It's not the primary motive. Harsh Critic says that's because I'm being paid already. To run distraction and discredit restore the...
I'm sorry to keep pausing, but so this was what I was waiting for here. Harsh Critics. Little thing that we're going to get back to the video. This guy, if you go to his page, yes, he speaks on the Snyderverse because that drives his page, but he is, and you do what you do to get to where you want to be. The reason I came across him and kind of conversed with him is because I'm like, why is almost all of your commentary negative, right? He'll go to a watch party or he'll go to a movie. It's bad. And not even say it's bad. He says it sucks. I don't believe in, tearing down art just because you can say, hey, I'm not into it, cool, whatever. But tearing things down, Harsh Critic really, what's the term? He grinds my gears with this, and it's very interesting that I don't know what he's finna point out in regards to him, but that is something that he does. And that is something that I've seen with this whole community at a certain point in time. The Snyder Bros will tear it down. Now, I really love that he's saying, don't be toxic, don't go and channel bash, don't go over to and be toxic, because I have gone to, Mr. Phenom's channel. I don't bash. I interact with people because that's all I want to do. The greatest thing, and I'm not going to put it on my thing, but he had the hashtag civil debate. Civil debate. Have a conversation. You don't have to do that. All this is about differences in opinion and maybe getting on the same accord, maybe not. But then you got these toxic people in this community that make it tough. And Harsh Critic is one of those for sure.
Snyderverse channels, but that's not the case. That's the paranoid delusions of someone that focuses more on his Temu and Amazon purchases for his office than valid points. Currently, I feel there's less restriction on content I make without seeking money from views. It's true with marketing contracts it stipulates, not speaking as a public figure, so I don't. And hey, that's where the Hubbub steps in. As I still want to give my opinions as a faceless channel and offer another perspective, which honestly, those are pretty common now. Sometimes I may critique DCU items, such as when I discussed the rollout of marketing for Superman initially, or my humor may not represent them safely, so I speak for myself. While supportive, I know everything has its flaws. Someone like harsh critics who hurled personal attacks towards. Actors in Superman should be ashamed to show his ignorant face anyways.
Cornball is an ugly Superman. Let's just face it. He's not masculine. I think these are just ugly characters. There's an ugly Lois Lane, an ugly Superman, a pretty boy Lex. They're ugly characters. It's an ugly cast. He looks like one of the Coneheads. Remember the Coneheads with Dan Aykroyd?
Okay. Now that you see what I'm talking about, but look at this specifically. He's pointing out that Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor looks like one of the Coneheads, but he's okay with Zack Snyder's Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg, looking how he looked, like a skateboarder / surfer type situation. You know, and I say this because I actually recorded a video earlier. I'm gonna post it, and I'm gonna post this. You should never have to stand on the shoulders of another person to make yourself feel taller. And that's what this is. And this is like, ugh.
Looks like a Conehead. He look fucking old. He looks like a cornball, a cross-eyed cornball. And Rachel Brosnahan, I don't really know her like that, but she's an ugly Lois Lane. She has a big ass forehead. In some scenes, like that, the picture they posted last week, she's pale. Like, she's pale. There's no color to her. And she's just an ugly Lois Lane. She has a big ass. What sticks out to me is her big ass forehead. She's an ugly Lois Lane, y'all. Now, I haven't seen her in any of her movies. They're just miscast. They're ugly actors in this film.
I do use methods of voice narrations as I try different reporting styles for entertainment commentary. It's all original content. And some of the Snyder bros who moved into the Snyder cult territory.
I'm sorry, I have to say this. Rachel Brosnahan is ugly, but I believe Margot Kidder is her real name. She was just a beautiful Superwoman. Okay. First of all, it's not about what harsh critics or anybody thinks is attractive, per se. You know what I mean? It's about the actor who can play the role. And she did a good job as Lois in her role. As did, what's her name? Is it Rachel that was in the Zack Snyder ones? She did a decent job, too. Wasn't really a comic accurate Lois Lane. Doesn't talk about that, though. But that's fine. You know, comic accurate, movie accurate, traditional, whatnot. But just look at how he spoke about her. You know what I'm saying? That is the toxicity. That is the venom that comes from, and I'm pretty sure it comes on both sides of the spectrum, to be perfectly honest. I'm pretty sure it does, but I know I personally do not take those things into account when speaking about the differences in the universe. I would never say, this person's ugly, she's just effing ugly. Like, that's a very immature mindset from an insecure person, I feel, because you can see how he uses masculinity, all these things to kind of boast things up, i.e. Snyderverse being big on effects and big on the big muscle raw stuff instead of the writing of the stories and whatnot. It all plays a role, but, you know, on to the next part of this surgical situation here.
Territory. Prove the toxic reputation more and more by making up that lie. No shade at Phenom, who's looking for individual fame on YouTube doing his thing, but he just pops on the camera and hits record. What I do takes actual editorial prep, editing, background video, and media, plus article research and time. As an example, I have pointed to Boba Talks, who told me his videos can take over 8 hours due to the backdrop media and editing to precise commentary. It actually is original, and whether you agree or not, it takes some time to make hopefully entertaining commentary. That's what all the Gunn and Snyder channels are. Entertainment commentary giving their views. I'm not trashing channels. I'm civil debating. It's no shade to say I don't seek individual fame as a faceless channel. I do believe there's a civil debate community to be had, though. Okay, I may stick it to harsh critics now and then, because he went on a mission for a while to try to expose me as a shill working for the WB. As a side note, that was only irritating.
Hey, I'm going to point something out really quickly, because I actually had this conversation in Mr. Phenom's comments one time. So yes, Mr. Phenom harsh critics, Tyrone Magnus, what's it, the Lethal Geeks. They use the word shill, and it's a community word. It's, you know what I mean? It's it just is. You know what I'm saying? They will throw that and try to say somebody's a shill if they do not lend to the Snyderverse or whatnot. So the reason I call my channel the Shillverse is because I am definitely not a shill, and I want to talk about these topics. But if anybody, so I say the thing about Tyrone Magnus. He's had an interview with Zack Snyder. He is really into that realm. You know what I mean? Like, if you notice the people that he has interacted with and who he talks about, he lends to them with a heavy amount of bias, i.e. Tom Hall and things of that nature. That's shill activity. That is shill activity. But they will never say the things that they do are shill activity. So I invite them to the Shillverse, or at least that was my thought process when I came up with this, you know, to be judged on their shillness, you know. So it's just a play on words. It does not mean that this is the world of shill. It does not mean that whatsoever. I just wanted to bring that up because he just referenced, you know, the word shill, and I had that conversation, so I just wanted to point that out. I'm rambling. Let's go.
Because the public conversations with Robert Burnett, who doesn't currently work for DC in any capacity, were not some hidden agenda. People tend to work in jobs they have interest in, or I hope so anyways. I'm no more biased if doing marketing contracts in career life than a Snyder bro who is on a mission to restore a dead verse. I mean, Snyder shills has a good ring to it. Jokes and sarcasm aside, I've got no problem hearing others give their perspectives on the DC debating subject matter and providing my take. There really is a difference between being a DC fan who's willing to give whoever's in charge a fair shot and being a Snyder-only DC fan who treats him like the only visionary capable of telling these stories, which, yikes, that sounds like an odd fetish. A Snyder sexual may be an apt term for some of the creepiness by a portion of extremists with that fandom, and to those who glaze harder than a Krispy Kreme original donut. Here's the part that might surprise you. If, by some magic wand type of act, Zack Snyder were brought back to restore his universe, plenty of DC fans, myself included, would still go in with an open mind. It just wouldn't make sense to go that route, though. I mean, I gave Batman v Superman a fair shot, and yeah, it didn't land for me. You guys want dark and serious but accepted cringe Lex, but I still showed up. That's what actual fans do. We watch, we judge, we move on. It's worth pointing out the more successful DCEU films weren't directed by edgelord God Chief Zack Snyder either. The billion-dollar hit? Not the one featuring Batman and Superman together for the first time in live action? That honor goes to Aquaman, directed by James Wan. Then you've got Wonder Woman, directed by Patty Jenkins, which was both critically and commercially successful.
Another point that they don't like, and he just pointed that out perfectly. And though he used those three movies, at least to this point, perfectly. That was, yeah.
Interestingly, those films leaned into a brighter, more accessible tone, closer to a Marvel-style vibe, and didn't rely as heavily on Snyder's darker aesthetic. The sequels stumbled hard. No argument there. But by that point, the universe already had structural cracks. The reality now is that the DCU under James Gunn is the only active cinematic universe moving forward. One movie isn't enough to judge an entire vision. Gunn has a broader Superman saga now involving Brainiac, something fans never got to see in Snyder's run. Instead, that path was sidelined in favor of Batman v Superman. At the end of the day, DC fans were already stuck in limbo before Gunn took over. Projects were inconsistent, leadership was unclear. And the direction kept shifting. The idea that the solution is to fire Gunn and bring back someone who was already removed for documented creative and commercial reasons isn't really a plan. It's nostalgia mixed with denial. Wanting DC to succeed shouldn't mean locking it into one person's vision forever. It means being open to new interpretations and new stories. Audiences just weren't connecting well with Snyder's established verse. Google once more, Mr. Phenom, the last 5 DCEU Snyder established verse movies. Didn't even average 300 million per movie? That's a flop verse. The DCEU Snyder flop verse is dead. No restore is needed. We have a Gunn DCU now with projects in production, in actual release dates. If you guys lobbied for Elseworlds Justice League 2 as a conclusion, while not doing constant hit jobs on Gunn, it may have had an opening at some point through his intervention, as yes, him and Snyder are colleagues. You guys don't do that, though. Just like you all screwed up in boycotting Black Adam and Henry Cavill for his cameo, due to not being a Snyder-led film, and it blew up in your faces. It's the same mistake again, by not working with who is running the DC cinematic world. Speaking to cult guys, you think online harassment of your perceived enemies is the answer? But it just moves your goal further away.
James Gunn, your woke DCU doesn't fit. Superman, everybody's going bananas online. We got the woke feminists that don't like how James Gunn handled the women in the movie. Then you got the right-wingers led by Dean Cain and whoever else trying to say that, the immigration thing or that Superman's woke. I'll say the Superman movie is not woke. There's political themes, and a lot of it's subtle. I think if you go in looking for something, you might find it, and then you won't like it. But as I said in my reviews, overall, it's a fun movie. Don't go in expecting The Godfather, of course. It's just a fun superhero movie. Sometimes, just like Nathan Fillion said, sometimes a movie is just a movie. It's pretty fun.
With that, it's today's Hubbub. As always, no Snyderverse, no problem. Look up, not back, with eyes to the skies as Superman flies. Only in the DCU.
He cooked with that. That was a great breakdown of the whole scenario. At the end, Cosmic Book News, Cosmic Book News, the part that he said, don't go into it looking for a Godfather or something. You didn't get that with Snyder. Don't look for it now. That was a really good breakdown of every single point. Shout outs to Movie Hubbub, man. Like, he does really good content. Anybody that sees this, because I'm going to repost the video, I'm going to tag him in it. Go check out his content. He does really good content. You know what I'm saying? Go check out Mr. Phenom. He does good content too. It's biased, but it's always good to have both sides of things. As far as harsh critics, like I said, I think that he does very weak stuff. That's just how I feel. You know what I mean? Like, in seeing that clip of him talking about Miss Brosnahan like that was disgusting to me personally, to be perfectly honest with you. That's besides, that was disgusting. Speaking about her saying she's all this other stuff, it's like, where do you get off doing that? And that's the problem. Where do you get off doing that for somebody who is doing acting and to put out here, art for all of us, just because you don't like it? But whatever, y'all. Hey, what did you guys think of the video? It was a great video. Shout out to Movie Hubbub. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to record this real quick. I'm going to post my Daredevil Season 2 Episode 1 review. I'm going to let you know right now that episode was meh. I think hopefully it's better than Season 1 of Daredevil Born Again, but I'm not feeling it so far. But it's only one episode. You can't just, you can't do that, but it's derivative of the last season. So, but hey, I'm Jay. This is Shillverse. I'm out. Peace.